the data, and I'm pretty straightforward if you haven't figured out yet. I also have an opinion, but it's usually, I'm willing to share it, and it's usually based on data and facts. And for all the years, and it's been, well, way too many, but more than a score of doing work with customer contact, 4 or 5 immutable truths have kind of come out. Okay, the first one is about 70% of all customer contact centers are not meeting the expectations that they have for themselves. Okay, now you can sugarcoat it, or you can play data, you can move your stuff around or anything like that, but basically about 70% of us aren't quite living up to the expectation that we have in front of us. Okay, attrition's too high, customer sat's too low, scorecard's not quite right, something's going on, technology's not working the way we want to, call volume's too long, you know, whatever, name the number. There's something that's not quite going the way that you want it to. And is that not right? I mean, you can kick me out if you want now, but I mean, and in Kansas City we have a labor shortage right now, right? I mean, it's tough to find people, and how do we pay them at this point in time? Are we paying them at the right spot? I mean, 9 1/4 used to be that number, right? You could play 9 1/4 all day long, and you just can't do that anymore. And so there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and it's not quite in the right spot, and that's what's in front of people at this point. The second piece is that organizational culture actually explains about 45% of this. So if you try to figure out what's the mucky stuff, what's happening, culture is about 45% of that. So if you touch that like a flip of the coin, you're getting half the story at least. And I think that's why a lot of you came here today and wanted to listen and see what's going on and what we're talking about. The third thing is that the organizations are notoriously bad at understanding their cultures. Okay, which culture are we talking about? Is it, you know, when I worked with Adidas, which, you know, we in America call Adidas, the question became which, you know, and they're an international organization, but they're housed in Germany. The question becomes which culture are we talking about? Are we talking about, you know, EU versus United States culture? Are we talking about German versus French culture? Are we talking about, you know, one of the five, Hamburg versus Nuremberg culture? Are we talking about Adidas versus Puma culture? We're talking about this department versus that. Which culture are you talking about? And the problem with culture is everyone wants to give it a simple easy button. And it's really not that easy, because I just gave you 7 layers of culture, right? Some of us are from Kansas, a lot of us are from Kansas City, right? Or somewhere around here, and there's a culture about that versus St. Louis, right? Anyone want to laugh with me about it? I mean, yeah, we get it, right? So they're not the same beasts, okay? You get that already, but that doesn't mean that a Sprint employee or a Commerce Bank employee couldn't work in St. Louis or Kansas City, or for a different boss, okay? And so now we've got 6 or 7 impacts on that culture. And the fact is, if you're really, really, really good at it, you spend a ton of time on it, you'll maybe know 40%. And that kind of sucks, right? Because it's half the gig, and now from that you take 40%, you're down at around 16% effectiveness if you even try to do something. So I'm not saying that the things you haven't been doing haven't been helpful. The statistics are against you. Does that all make sense, kind of? Yeah? And then the question for me then in a lot of scenarios becomes, what's the high quality performance culture for this organization? Okay, what does it do, and how do we maximize that today? That's kind of where that's the immutable truths I've heard and the things I know as I've dealt with organizations over the year and what happens. Does anyone have anything they want to add to this? Is that about right? No? Okay. Why is this? What are the performance issues? So when we go in and actually diagnose and figure out what's going on, what is going on? First piece is the CEO or senior team is not clear in terms of direction or style. I think my friend back here has just said he's back at Sprint. How many cultures have you had at Sprint? And now with the new CEO, it's Ezra and this and that. I mean, everyone.
Years too, so you've seen a lot.
Yeah, I was there in '94, so I back in the old days with the Red Diamond, and it was a different place then even. So if they're not clear or they haven't gotten clear to you, how are you supposed to be clear with respect to where you're going and what you're doing? All right, so that's both in direction and that's in style. How many organizations say our employees are our most important asset, and we're the lowest payers in the community? All right, so we put that goofy crap up on the wall. We say it's true. And our CEO comes out every once in a while, this is true, and isn't it nice, and isn't this what we do? And it's just not true, okay? So it's about style, and things of that nature. A lot of times our plans are way too sophisticated in the desire of knowing it all. And next month you're going to hear about the Internet of Things, and Blake just talked about the Internet of Things and the connectivity and all that stuff. Yes, it is all kind of connected, and yes, it does all matter, but at the end of the day, you got calls coming in. They're logging through the router and going to people. What you going to do? What's going to come out of their mouths? Okay, so yes, we are all interconnected in a lot of big ways, and yes, that's kind of cool to think about. Does it impact you on a daily basis? Not always, okay? And so our plans become too sophisticated. And to solve this problem, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, but 4's not quite fixed, so I got to do A, B, C, D. Ah, but D's not quite right, so I got to do dot 1, dot 2, dot 3. Ah, but dot 4 is got, and now all of a sudden we turn mountains out of molehills, right? Or is that the right way? Yeah, I think that's the right way to say it. So there you go. Processes don't lead to company cycles. Oftentimes the things we're trying to do is like a year-long process when you're quarterly, or you're monthly, or you're weekly. And so we roll out this long-term engagement to change the whole, and the thing changes, right? I mean, we're all talking about now, and some friends of mine at Hallmark Cards just said, we got a real change going on here. And I'm like, when was the last time it wasn't changing? Change is part of the world. It's happening whether you want it to or not. You can't freeze the world anymore and expect them to wait for 3 or 4 months for your process to go through before you move it forward. Leaders can lack characteristics and power, both positional. There's a lot of times we'll say, we've got a great thing going, and let's give it to our project manager. Hey guys, I'm here. Would you do it, please? Yeah, please. And so positionally, they're not in the spot to truly endorse this and make it happen. And sometimes their personalities just aren't right. I mean, if you want to be a project manager, it's not always about being nice. Sometimes you got to be a bad guy, right? And sometimes you can't always do the things you need to do. And then finally, poor outcome measures underrepresent impact and don't provide motivation.